On the shore, the phone felt like a block of ice in Jamal's trembling hands. A silent, guttural scream had torn from his throat, a sound swallowed by the rustling palms and the indifferent rhythm of the waves. He watched as the small motorboat turned, a white scar on the vast blue canvas, and began its slow journey back to the pier. His mind was a maelstrom of horror and disbelief. The image of Donovan's body hitting the water was burned onto his retinas, a looping private horror film. He saw his mother's face, not twisted in anger, but blank, resolved, and terrifyingly calm. He saw his father, a man he barely knew anymore, acting as the hand of judgment. Panic gave way to a chilling, preternatural clarity. They couldn't know. They couldn't know he was here. They couldn't know what he now possessed. With shaking fingers, he stopped the recording and quickly backed up the file to a secure, hidden cloud folder he used for schoolwork, a digital vault no one knew existed. He scrambled back through the dense foliage, his heart hammering against his ribs, and made his way back towards the main beach, forcing himself to walk, not run. He had to be the grieving mentee. He had to be the shocked, heartbroken kid. His life now depended on his ability to act. An hour later, Victoria and David returned to the main cruise ship. Victoria's performance was masterful. She was hysterical, a woman shattered by tragedy. She collapsed into the arms of the ship's security, babbling about a rogue wave, a slip, a horrifying accident. "He was just gone," she sobbed, the tears streaming down her face, genuine, but their source a mystery only she understood. David had already disappeared back into the anonymous crowds of the ship, his part in the play complete. When they broke the news to Jamal in the ship's infirmary, he delivered the performance of a lifetime. He crumpled, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated anguish. His cries were raw, his grief so convincing that his mother pulled him into an embrace, whispering hollow comforts. As he buried his face in her shoulder, the scent of her perfume mixing with the antiseptic smell of the room, a cold, hard hatred crystallized in his heart. He was hugging his lover's murderer. He let her hold him, playing the part of the devastated son, all while the digital ghost of her crime was safely stored, waiting for its moment. The game had changed. His mother and father thought they were the players, but they had just created the one person who could burn their entire world to the ground. If you're enjoying this story, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Weeks turned into a month. Life back in the sprawling Potomac estate was a hollow pantomime of normalcy. The official story was a tragic accident at sea, a cautionary tale for cruisegoers. Donovan Cross was mourned publicly, a beloved sports hero gone too soon. Victoria Sterling was the grieving partner, playing her role with quiet, somber dignity. David was the supportive ex-husband, a pillar of strength for his family, and Jamal was the withdrawn, heartbroken son, his silence and isolation seen by everyone as a natural response to losing his mentor. He played the part perfectly. He was quiet, he was respectful, and he was waiting. The confrontation happened on a Sunday evening. Victoria and David were in the living room discussing a business matter, a portrait of amicable co-parenting. Jamal walked in, his face calm, his movements deliberate. "Mom, David," he said, his voice even. "Can we talk?" They turned, surprised by his sudden initiative. "Of course, son," David said, putting on his fatherly mask. "Anything." Jamal didn't sit. He stood before them, a judge before the accused. "I know what happened to Don," he said simply. Victoria's smile froze on her face. David's posture stiffened. "Jamal, we know it's hard," Victoria began, her voice soft and condescending. "Grief can make you confused." "I'm not confused," Jamal interrupted, his voice dropping, losing its boyish tone and taking on a hard adult edge. He pulled out his phone. "I was there." He pressed play. The sound that filled the silent, opulent room was the gentle lapping of water. Then the sound of his father's voice, cold and full of rage. "You twisted him!" Then the struggle, Donovan's cry of pain and shock, and finally the heavy, unmistakable splash. He didn't show them the screen. He just let the audio play, a damning ghost in the machine. Victoria's face went ashen. David shot to his feet, his face a mixture of fury and panic. "You followed us? You spied on your own mother?" You murdered the man I loved, Jamal shot back, his voice finally breaking with a wave of raw pain and fury. You stood there and you watched him die. You did it for your money, for your pride, for your sick, twisted idea of what I should be. The trial was a media firestorm, the biggest spectacle DC had seen in years. The cruise ship murder was on every news channel. The video from Jamal's phone was the star witness, an irrefutable digital ghost that condemned them completely. Victoria Sterling, the titan of industry, and her ex-husband were reduced to disgraced defendants in orange jumpsuits. Their power, their money, their influence, it all evaporated under the harsh, fluorescent lights of the courtroom. The final scene is months later. Victoria and David are gone, sentenced to life in prison. Jamal sits alone in the vast, silent living room of the Potomac estate. The house, once a symbol of his mother's success, is now his. He opens his laptop. On the screen is the portfolio for Sterling Solutions, an empire built on ambition. He navigates to the Board of Directors page. With a steady hand, he deletes his mother's name and begins to type his own. He has inherited it all. The kingdom built for him is now his, bought with the blood of the man he loved and the freedom of the parents who betrayed him. The Sterling game was over, and he was the only winner. Before you go, tap that like button, leave a comment to let us know what you think, and subscribe so you're always the first to hear our next story. Your support keeps these stories coming.